Going to be live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are now live. We are live streaming, my man, John Tesser. We are live streaming across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. So a little direction here. Everyone hanging out with us, stand by for a moment. John, if you go to my page and anybody following along, if you're having a problem, well, if you're following along, you won't have any problems here. So if you go to my page and you click all activity,
I'm going. Oh, look at this! We got live technical instructions going on. I'm going.
I know it's insane. And then if you see it there, just hit share, and you should be in good shape.
And then I'm going to posts.
Yeah, you see it. You see it in all activity.
Oh my goodness, I do. All right, it's in all activity. Wow.
And just hit the little share button.
Share.
And that'll get it up and running on your page. So we're firing up now. Hopefully some people will get the hint. I've been testing out times a day, man, and it's really interesting. The daytime, LinkedIn rolled out the beta test a while ago. I was a beta tester, and my numbers were really good for a long time. And they opened up live to a lot more people, and less people are tuning in. It really is a weird thing. The more content that I do, but I get a boatload on the replays, man. I get so much engagement and replay because people may not be tuned in. They may not be on LinkedIn right now, right? They may be working. People are actually working.
I got to make a confession, Adam. I've actually never sat in on any LinkedIn lives.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I just said it. I'm the LinkedIn guy who's on LinkedIn all day.
And you know what, dude? I think there's a couple of reasons for that, right? If we're going to put on our digital marketing hats, I mean, I think it's getting saturated. And I think that a lot of people have shows too. And maybe LinkedIn didn't do the best job. Maybe they should have kept it a little bit more exclusive to content creators that were putting in the right amount of effort to put on a good show. And like if you're thinking about the quality of the product, I mean, what are your thoughts here? Or are we in a democracy where everybody get access to LinkedIn Live?
You're dead on.
Sometimes
the exclusivity factor is big. And like we were just chatting right before we started the show, this is top-notch production, man. I mean, LinkedIn should be looking at the pause show and saying you got to be up to this level of quality if you want to air live. So no, I'm in agreement with you, man.
Yeah, cool.
What you've done and all of this, and this is a lot of work on your end, and others shouldn't have the same abilities if they don't know what they're doing. Sorry, I guess I'm a little bit snobby like that.
No, I like snobbiness, and that's something that I embrace in my brand too. But it's really but I also believe in everybody testing and learning and trying things, and I love to share knowledge. I see all these people on LinkedIn. Everyone's a guru now. Everyone's a guru. I literally see people that have on LinkedIn for 6 minutes. They've been on LinkedIn for 6 minutes. All of a sudden, they're a career expert. They're a LinkedIn expert.
Oh my God.
They're a personal branding expert. So let's do something real quick.
Let's talk about this for a second, because I don't know if you know my world, and you don't mind if I call you Pause. It's kind of a fun thing. Do people do that?
Go for it. I'm embracing the pause. Yeah, let's talk shop, buddy.
So let's talk about that. So I think you brought me on because I deal with a lot of the youth, right? So my specialty is really young professionals and trying to get them involved, and we can talk more about my work in that.
Yeah, we're gonna dig
But in. I'm a victim of my own success in a way, and it's related to what you're saying, which is a lot of the young folk are now posting, which is awesome.
It's great.
I hadn't seen any of them, and now it's
I'm shifting to stand-up comedy mic hold. This is stand-up comedy mic hold position. So when I do my podcast, I keep the mic here. It's very professional. Yeah. But the live show, it's kind of casual. So
yeah. So
entertainment value as well.
We got stand-up comedian Pause. Yes. So a lot of the young professionals are now posting content on LinkedIn, and that's awesome. We want to get more voices from youth, but what I'm actually seeing is some of them are putting out 2 to 3 posts, and you're going to love this one, Pause. They now, after they put out 2 to 3 posts offering advice on how to do careers, they're actually calling themselves career coaches.
Brilliant.
People who signed up for LinkedIn maybe a week, maybe a month ago,
right?
And all of a sudden they are career experts, and I'm sitting there like, cool, all right, tell me about your expertise.
Yeah, tell me your qualifications, right? Tell me what makes you an expert in this field of career searches. It's unbelievable, right? Like I don't call myself a plumber because I unclogged my toilet, once.
Well, I think the problem is, I don't know if you see my message, it's very inclusive, right? And I actually I put out something, right? And about 5 months ago, I put out sort of a self-deprecating message that said, look, I'm just an analytics dude. I'm just really into careers, right? Like there's nothing special about me. So because I'm not that special, you can go and you can post. And this, I think, got people to wake up and be like, well, that bearded guy can do it, so can I. And so, this message of inclusivity is true to an extent, but to also to your point, there has to be a little bit of snobbery involved, and there has to be a little bit of, there are experts here who know what they're talking about and who are bringing stuff to the table. And this is, we're getting deep here to start out, but this is a problem with the LinkedIn, platform in general. Who's the good? And who's the not so good, and how do you differentiate between them, and how do you figure out, what's the difference?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, LinkedIn has been the wild, wild west, and I think it comes down to, you and I are both seasoned marketers here.
Yes,
it comes down to, the currency is attention and eyeballs. The currency is attention.
That's right.
So people do two things here, and the game is really simple. There's people who organically, for years and years, grow their audience the right way with intention and doing things the right way, like you and I. And then there's people that come on and they're hacks and they game the system. And it came from, they've done it on Twitter, they've done it on Instagram, they've done it on Facebook, they do it on YouTube. And, there's two sides to gaming the system. It is a game, so there's ethical ways to do it. And then there's bullshit cheating techniques, which I don't want to dig into, right? But the point is, if you come on here to LinkedIn and all of a sudden you're blowing up in 6 months and you're racing to 30,000 followers and you're literally just collecting and amassing, vanity metrics.
Up a brand, right?
And you're not building up a brand. B, numbers do not equal credibility or authenticity. But for people who do not understand that, they flip it around and now they're trying to monetize those numbers. They're saying, I amassed 30,000 connections. I amassed 200,000 followers. I know what the hell I'm talking about on LinkedIn. You should follow me and sign up for my course.
That's
a game.
Nothing to say to that. I think, I don't know. I have noble things that I'm trying to do on LinkedIn, right? Like I'm here to bring a level of vulnerability and emotional trust to a world of braggadocio and a bunch of people trying to sell shit. So
welcome to humble Bragville, my friend. Humble Bragville.
So it's hard for me to imagine that there's actually people out there, and I just maintain this naivete. I'm sorry, Adam.
It's true.
It's just what I do.
So let's
go ahead.
So let's shift to some good stuff here, because that's what I really want to do. First and foremost, I have not even done my grand introduction. Welcome everybody. It is Cinco de Mayo. It is the 5th day of May for all my Star Wars fans. Happy 4th yesterday. I don't think I gave a proper Star Wars. May the 4th be with you. I like Star Wars. I'm never like I just didn't fully get into it. I watch all the movies. I can't quote anything. I can't give you stats, but
you've seen them all? I never saw them.
Not one.
I think I saw the 3 original ones.
Right, but you haven't seen any of the new ones.
Failing in my dork quotient. Like, I just am not on it.
But there's so many better shows, and we could digress. I did watch, because I will ask you about TV. We watched 3 episodes of Upload yesterday on Amazon Prime.
Is that good?
Yes. Just watch it and get back to me in a couple days.
Okay. We started watching The My Brilliant Friend on HBO. Oh, and we finished Westworld. 3.
It lost me at the end of season 1. I boycotted season 2. I boycotted season 2, and everyone's saying season 3 is completely off, out of your mind.
Season 3 was bonkers.
That's what everyone says, yeah. But we digress here. All right, let me finish my full intro. It is the 5th day of May in the year 2020. I'm with my man John Tesser. We every day is blending into the same. So I try to have different guests on my show so I could actually kind of think about the guest versus the day or the week or the month or anything. And that's how I've been kind of having a chronological order of my life over the last 8 weeks. I do it by looking back at conversations. So John, why don't we just take a quick moment before we start digging into some fun stuff, and just a quick tell everyone who you are and what you do best, my man.
Yeah, man. So I'm a dual person. My day job is
2 of you.
There's like 2 of me. There's 2 different identities. It's a lot to maintain, Mr. Paz. But my day job, the one that pays me the money, is I'm VP of research at the NYC Tourism Bureau. So it is my job to track tourists, what they do, who they are, all of that fun stuff. My job's gotten way more interesting since stuff's been going on,
We'll
and
dig into that.
interesting is one term. And then I'm also this guy who calls himself and I did this as a joke, by the way, but I call myself a career whisperer for young professionals. And essentially I work as now like a more of like a mass mentor to, younger folk, particularly college and grad students and people who have 1 to 2 years experience. And I work with them less on the like tangibles, like make your resume better. And, here's how to do a cover letter and here's how to apply for a job. I think there's a lot of resources that do that. But what I really do on LinkedIn and what I'm all about is bringing this idea of emotional openness, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Sort of just how to be a good person and how do you bring those kind of qualities to the work world. And my LinkedIn is really all about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it resonates, which is really cool because I don't write easy content.
No.
Stuff that I write, it makes you think and it makes you uncomfortable. And that's what I'm aiming for. There's enough people who are spouting the same stuff. And so my job on LinkedIn is to be a bit of an instigator, to be honest, to let people to wake up, open your eyes, and think about things in a different way. That's why I say on my profile page, my goal is to make you think differently.
Yeah.
And if I reached 2 people who can think differently because of what I've done, I win.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I really appreciate that because, as we were riffing on earlier, there's so much of this broetry, as they call it. And it's really interesting. And Gary Vaynerchuk, wrote about it the other day because I agree with this. So many people are writing because they're writing what's going to resonate most from a metrics perspective. What am I going to write to get the most likes, the most follows, right? The most engagement, right? They're not writing for their true value. They're not writing for what they're trying to accomplish. They're writing for what they think someone else is going to perceive.
Well, I think this is a fascinating subject, and I do want to actually get into this. I think it's because people there's like a dopamine rush, right? Like, oh my God,
yeah,
likes and followers.
Bing, bing, bing.
Respect me and they love me because I'm getting these big numbers and I need to keep getting more big numbers, right? And it's false. It's a false way of looking at it because you're not taking the bigger view, which is what am I really trying to do here? What's my brand? We were just talking about this, Mr. Paz, which is how do we create what brand we want for the world? How are we making a difference? And people don't step back and think about that. They're in it because they need the dopamine hit. They need people to realize that, they matter. That's essentially where this comes down to if we're going to get into deep psychological.
Yeah. 100%.
On LinkedIn, I'm posting on Instagram because I matter.
And serving the ego.
It's driven by ego, and it's really just a false game if you're not writing content that's resonating with your brand and your message and what you're trying to do. You may be able to get hundreds of thousands of engagements, good for you, but what are you really doing? Like, who are you really helping? Are you helping yourself? Are you helping others? That's really what the question is, and that's what needs to be figured out.
Right. And what business are you actually generating? What are you getting out of that? Like, what is it doing? Like, are you able to cash in those eyeballs?
Right. And then what does that mean to do business on LinkedIn? That's like an even deeper psychological.
Right. I mean, and there's so many people that are doing real business, and we could talk about real business. We could talk about there is consulting. There really is some deep career coaching. There really is some really qualified resume folks on here too. And then you got the snake oil salesman. You know what? It's like buyer beware, man. You know what? Like, I give a lot of shit to people for trying to sell crap on LinkedIn, but you know what? There's someone on the other side buying that shit, man. And you know what? Shame on you. So and I've gotten to this point too, where I could preach all day long from my perch, my mantle. I could sit on my wood mantle over here and I could just preach all day about all the crap that's going on LinkedIn. But you know what? If you fall for that shit, you're not my audience anyway, man. You're not the person that I do business with. You're not one of the candidates, and you're not one of my clients.
No, and it's really funny that you say that because I'm not on LinkedIn. This is really crazy because I'm not on LinkedIn for any monetary purpose. I'm on LinkedIn to affect as many people with my philosophy. It's almost like insidious what I'm trying to do, which is this humanistic,
It's
like
awesome though.
psychological, Eastern philosophy meets psychotherapy approach to LinkedIn. And my metrics of success are people saying, dude, you're inspiring me.
Yeah.
And you're getting me to think differently. You're getting me to open up. You're getting me to be more psychologically open. And that's, I got enough money, right? I'm making enough money in my day job. But for me to really make an impact, at some point in your career, you're beyond making money. You're like, how am I going to make an impact on the world? And I don't know. I'm just deeply satisfied by the impact I'm making on the world. It sounds really cheesy, right? Like, who's this guy who's so full of himself that he thinks he can make an impact on the world? But fine, I'm that narcissistic that I think my message is resonating on a deeper level. It's not about, for me, it's not about making money. It's about affecting as many lives with the content and the conversations that I'm having as possible.
Yeah, but your content's awesome because you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, first of all, you have to put in the effort to read your content, and I mean that in a good way, right? You're not writing for I call it LCD marketing on LinkedIn, lowest common denominator marketing, and I think a lot of people are doing that for the eyeballs. Your content is thoughtful, and it takes an equal amount of work that you put into it to read it, comprehend it, and really figure out what that key takeaway or action item is. And I think and that's where you're making a difference, and you get some pretty damn good engagement in yourself, my friend. But I think it's earned. I think it's earned. Okay. It's earned engagement.
I appreciate that. I'm doing okay. I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of people who do a lot better than I do, and I'm cool with that because my content really isn't meant for mass consumption. I think the point that you're making is in each piece that I put out, when I put out a piece of content, people aren't aware of this, but every single time I do it, there's a deeper underlying message there that I want someone to find. And they want somebody to sort of wink and nod along with me that John's really trying to say this. He's got words on a page, but if you go beyond the words and you look at the message he's trying to convey and how he's trying to say, like, maybe consider these things as you live your life. Wow, then it's like, okay, cool. There are people who can resonate with this. And what I'm able to do from there, Adam, is actually
we're gonna get interrupted in a second by my 2-year-old. So keep going. He's gonna come in.
Cool. My kids are now on the roof stomping. So I hear you.
And it goes. Continue. I ruined your train of thought there. I was just giving a warning. He's coming in.
No. I'm so that you're really good at this because you're giving me warnings with the 2-year-olds. Mine just interrupt and I start yelling. Okay, so back to my train of thought because I was getting going. Once you get me going, I got to keep going. But what it really allows me to do, and like I don't want to call it a cult, but what it really allows me to do is to find the people who really understand what I'm talking about, have those deeper level conversations, and then I feel like, okay, cool. I'm actually finding people who resonate with the way that I see the world and philosophically go about the world, and I'm finding my own tribe. And that's cool, right?
Exactly. Like, me too, man.
That's what we're all trying to do, which is like, hey, I've got these ideas about how you should live life. I've got these ideas about how I think. I'm putting it out on paper. Some people read it. And then I find the people who are like, wow, that message resonates with me. And I'm like, aha, now I'm finding the cool people to chat with.
Yeah, you find your tribe and your tribe attracts you, man. I mean, like attracts like. I mean, absolutely. So I want to talk about, so I dug in a little bit to your process here, and it's interesting how you approach a young professional, right? And for everyone out there, let's explain your process. What are those questions that you ask them so you can really get a sense of their why and their purpose and see if they're aligned?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm trying to
I don't want to repeat it. You should have been listening the first time. No,
I mean, I was totally listening to you, but I don't really know how to answer in terms of what you mean by process.
Right. So I was looking through how you go about, really understanding somebody's purpose when you have that first conversation with them. Let's talk about those questions that you ask.
So here's the cool thing, right? I like that. I like what you just said to me. The way that I am able to generate the content that I do is I'm fortunate enough that the young professionals, and this is mostly 18 to 26-year-olds when we're talking about young professionals, mostly kids in school, graduating seniors, etc. to early career. And most of the content that I generate happens because they reach out to me and they have questions that they ask. They say, John, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea for a post. And I put something up, and a lot of people come back to me and they say, oh, yeah, I've been thinking about that too.
Right.
So I essentially use my LinkedIn direct messages as a way to essentially figure out the kind of stuff to talk about. But
I like it.
Really even more interesting, Adam, is the fact that, I don't know if you're the same as me. When someone enters my network, I take that very seriously. And I actually reach out to everybody who is a new connection. And I send them, welcome to my network. And I've changed that message over time.
How so?
And I used to say, it's an honor to have you in my network, right? I'm being serious. I really do want to welcome people. And I used to say, let me know how I can be of assistance. And I look forward to being in touch. I've stopped that. I've stopped the let me know how I can be of assistance. And I've moved into, I want to hear your story and let's stay in touch. Do you see the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating too. And how is the responses differed? Like, what is it? Is it moving from an immediate ask?
That's right.
Someone being more open.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the people probably get freaked out by that, right? Like, why is this old bearded guy who's talking to young professionals asking me about my story? That's a weird thing to say. But the ones who do answer are the ones who it's worth having a conversation with, because they're realizing, oh, this guy is actually here for longer term relationships. He wants to know about me. He wants to learn what I'm all about. Yeah. And so, yes, it's exactly right. Because young professionals, and you tell me if older professionals do this, but young professionals view networking as a way to get something out of you, right? So they see me as an analytics professional with 45,000 connections or whatever I have. And they're like, oh, this dude can help me get what I need. And if or he can help me figure out what I need for free. He can take his valuable time out of his day to help me. And I've moved the conversation away from how can you help me, and I'm trying to get into the head of young professionals and networkers this idea that networking is a mutually beneficial process, which you take for granted, but a lot of these students don't. And so when I ask for your story and I want to stay in touch, I'm setting the groundwork to stay in touch for the long term and to realize that this is an initial reach out. And we need to get to know each other before I even attempt to help you with anything.
It's such a fascinating topic. I'm going to get serious here for a minute. And I've seen, I'm lucky enough where the way I was raised in combination with having amazing mentors at the very early stage of my career, I learned the true value of a relationship, a long-term relationship, planting those roots and what that means. And it's paying dividends now, 21 years now into my career. Yep. And I feel that, for whatever reason, society, or maybe people aren't being taught the right way, or maybe, new people to the marketplace are being taught by people that are relatively new themselves, that's a lost kind of art, a lost skill. And I preach it all the time, moving away from being transactional. And it's not a knock. I mean, it is a knock, but it's not like a knock on your personality, right? Like, really understanding that the seeds that you plant now are going to be those plants, crops, and flowers in 10 years from now. It's hard for people because it's instant gratification. It's now. What's in it for me? And I think you're doing a great job trying to change that dynamic.
Yeah, right? I'm working at it really hard. And the thing is, and I've written some very vulnerable blog posts about this, right? Where I've had to get really burned because, again, I'm just an eternal optimist, right? And I view the best in people, and that's actually my downfall, because I'm not skeptical about you when we first meet. I automatically like everyone I meet when I first meet them, and then I get disappointed over time. So what actually
my hopes are high, and then you just crash.
You're just going to ruin. Whatever. At some point, Adam, you're just going to talk to me. I'm going to be like, you ruined everything. I don't like you anymore. So just so you know.
I try really hard not to, man. It takes all my 41 years of life experience to not burn every bridge.
Yeah, you and I are the same age. Holy shit.
I got a lot more hair. Look how much hair I got. You could buy, I have it up here, right? I have it all this up here. This is my Corona hair.
How'd you keep all that hair? 41 years. This is unfair. I don't want to continue this conversation. Now I am offended. No, I'm just kidding. But what I wrote about in my blog post was I had some extremely, really, really difficult situations with young professionals that I was trying to help. And they literally, at some point, said to me, they turned to me and they go, John, I really just need you to get me a job. Like, I don't really want to get to know you. They literally said
But
these
at least
words.
they were clear about it.
And I said, I'm not talking to you anymore.
But let's flip it around too. Let's say they came to you in the first conversation, and I think intentions are important. I think I get them too. Where sometimes it's okay if people are upfront and they're telling you exactly what their ask is immediately.
Oh no, I appreciate that, but I will tell them to go away.
Right, because that's not how you operate.
I don't operate with transactions. And it takes people by surprise. And as soon as they realize that he's not operating with transactions, you lose about 80% of them.
Good, because those aren't the people you want to deal with anyway.
They go away because they're like, oh, he's not giving me what I need right now. And eventually down the road, they're going to get hurt. And they're going to have to understand, like, they're going to have to learn through trial and error, like you and I have, right? That the transactional nature of what they do isn't going to work for them. But that's not my job to teach them, right? I can only go so far. And, we both are really busy working professionals with kids. We don't have time to just give ourselves and offer ourselves to those who aren't in our tribe or aren't espousing to our values.
Or not at least on the same wavelength of how we want to help mentor them.
That's right. Yeah. And, mentorship, and I don't know how you feel about it, but it's something I take very seriously. If somebody says, I want to be mentored by you, I suddenly go, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, and then you have to vet it out too, because our time, and I'm gonna be straight up with this too. Oh, this is so hard. I'm gonna be polarizing when I say this. As you get older, your time becomes more valuable because your time is not your own.
Polarizing.
Because your time is not your own time. My time is much more valuable now than it was when I was 22 years old.
Absolutely.
I my time with my kids, my time with my family, my time to myself, my time to be my best self before I could even, and time for my job that pays the bills before I could get to anybody else. So I am giving you my time, when you're giving somebody your time, it's gold. It's gold. And
gold.
And if they don't treat it that way and they don't reciprocate, and if they don't understand that, it's not worth it. So you have to vet somebody early in the process.
Oh, I vet them really, really hard. And they have to go through a rigorous process before I even get on a video chat that says, let's talk further about what you mean by mentorship and how I can be a part of your life, because you have to espouse, it's rigorous now. Right? Because I say you have to espouse by the values that I've talked about in all of my posts, that I talk about giving first, that I talk about mental fortitude and awareness. I talk about vulnerability. Are you willing to go there with me and go on the journey with me? And if not, if you're not willing to be vulnerable, if you're not willing to have that kind of relationship with me, if you're not willing to, understand that my time and giving, your time and giving have to be equal, I'm just not there for you. And so,
100%, man. 100% too. And you talk about something which is vulnerability, and I think it's hard for young people because they don't know, and to be fair to them, they don't know what it's like to be vulnerable because there's so many other experiences in life that they haven't had yet. And now we sound like the two old guys here too. But there are so many.
Let's argue for a second, Adam.
No, it's fine. We could debate that too, because I wasn't vulnerable. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Like I wasn't vulnerable,
either.
Right? But I became much more vulnerable, in the last couple of years of my life, because I saw by dipping my toes in that pool of vulnerability, how many doors it opened up for me. And that's kind of where I was going with that. There are plenty of young people that are super vulnerable, but I'm making a generalization here.
I'm actually really impressed by this is an area where I'm much more impressed with the younger folk than I am with people our generation.
Awesome.
The way that so many of them have opened up to me about their struggles, are opening up now on LinkedIn about the things that they struggle with, about the things that they think about their emotions and how they feel about things. This is, as you said, not something that our generation ever really did. And forget the older generation, our parents, the boomers. Like, emotions don't exist and they throw them under the rug, right? Sorry, I'm going to get a lot of blowback for that one, but
that's fair.
But the younger kids, like, this is another reason that I really enjoy working with them and I have the patience to deal with them, is that if I call them out on their lack of vulnerability or their lack of emotions or anything like that, they're really fast to open up and to acknowledge that and to say, that's an area I need to work on. that's why I really have a lot of faith in this generation. It's
That's awesome.
me how much more emotionally aware they are than our generation, us Gen Xers slash Z. I don't know what we are. Are we X or X?
Well, I mean, we're in a weird place because, and I think why, you know, a little generational thing here, we have the best of both worlds. Like I remember, like you do a corded phone. I remember my VCR having a wire to it. I remember HBO being this gray box on top of my TV with a little side switch on it. I learned to type on a typewriter, but I also had a BlackBerry. I also had my StarTech. I had the first iPhone, so we know how to do all this shit, man. We are dangerous.
Yeah. And that's the other interesting thing, right? A lot of the younger generation are very, very comfortable with, you know, digital communication, whether it's texting or sending memes or anything like that. And then I don't know if you found this, if you get on the phone with them, I don't know what to do.
You only had to type. That's why the texting game is strong.
They can type. Again, what I'm saying is a generalization. It's offensive, but I have seen it happen where I have really great conversations over online. They're vulnerable and all this, and then, you know, I talk to them in person. And, you know, neither of us are a difficult person to talk to. I can tell.
I talk all day long, man. I do it for a living.
so
someone actually pays me to talk. Yes, I get paid to talk.
That's great. And so I get on the phone, and then, you know, they bottle up, and I'm like, oh, you guys are uncomfortable. I'm doing my best to try and make you feel more comfortable, because like you said, we have a foot in both worlds in our generation, and that's a nice thing.
No, it definitely is. So let's talk shop a little bit about your day job. I mean, tourism. Okay. Tourism is I'm sure you could probably do your analytics now on one hand, right?
You want to talk about tourism analytics?
Let's talk some real numbers here. I mean, New York City thrives. I mean, it is the blood of New York. The restaurants, the shows, the stores. I mean, everything we could think of, the hotels, everything has come grinding to a halt. Let's throw a number out there, if you don't mind. How much business? I don't know, like a rough number. How much business has New York City lost in tourism over the last 2 months?
It's almost impossible to say. We have been looking at the hotel figures down where you would expect. You know, I think we saw 95% drops in occupancy in hotels. You know, the numbers have come up a little bit recently, but the reason for that is some of the hotels, well, it's kind of depressing. The reason, some of the hotels have gone out of business. So we've lost some of the rooms. So the more rooms you lose, the higher the occupancy. Yeah. We're talking shop here. But the other thing is they're actually, some of the hotels are hosting essential workers.
Yep.
So they're getting some rates to go up because of that. So, you know, right now, as a researcher in the tourism industry, it's almost like, well, I can't really report on anything that's happening right now in the industry. I have to try and figure out, what is it going to look like for a recovery, and when is that going to happen? And those are the questions that we're getting asked by our membership organizations, like the restaurants and the hotels and the museums. What is the recovery going to look like? And until we get more guidance from, you know, the mental health, from the health, and from, you know, the
public safety, all that kind of stuff,
how are we going to know? Yeah, go ahead.
But it's so different too, because I mean, everyone, a lot of people, I shouldn't say everyone, they're like, we bounced back from 9/11. You know, the city was shook up and everything. Here's the difference: 9/11 was a singular one-day event.
That's right.
That was over after that. Yes, we felt the ripples economically, but this is a you know, invisible enemy. We don't know where it's happening. We don't know where it's at. We don't know if it's coming back again, which I think we kind of have that feeling there's going to be a second wave of that. Yeah. Then we start to talk about businesses and restaurants. It's not like after 9/11, okay, we could get back to full capacity. You know, if you look around what's happening in Europe and some other states that are doing it well with the reopening, it's a scaled, tiered comeback. It's different levels of occupancy in restaurants. And then how does a New York City restaurant, like, let's just call it what it is, a New York City restaurant's a lot different than a Cleveland, Ohio restaurant as far as rent. Like, you can't open up. It's cheaper. I shouldn't say cheaper. You actually lose more money if you have a restaurant open and having to staff it up to only have 25% customers, right? Like it's
So there's just like, I mean, you're dead on, right? Like, we don't know what's going to open up, when it's going to open up. We don't know, like you said, is there going to be a second wave? You know, my opinion on some of these other states that are opening things up now is this is a huge mistake. We're going to see huge numbers of transmissions in those states, whereas the more responsible states like New York and Massachusetts and some of the places that have been hard but are still keeping things fairly restrictive, I think are going to have, we're going to flatten the curve better. I'm concerned about what's happening around the country in terms of opening things up, and not only that, but I mean, a lot of the states and cities aren't as well equipped as some of the bigger cities to handle COVID and to handle the hospitalization, especially in rural areas. So it's like a very
it's tough, and it's not apples to apples here. So I want to bring this home here. I certainly appreciate you jumping on board here. I mean, the work that you do with young folks is incredible. I mean, let me ask you this. Why do you do it, man? You don't have to. You have a full-time job, you have a family, right? Like, why do you put yourself out there to help?
I think that it comes to a life stage. I've reached the pinnacle of my career. I've done what I need to do. I enjoy my family and I spend my time with them and I give them a part of it. But at some point you come to a point where you say, I have life's work I need to do. And my life's work is to work with young professionals to get them into a better place and to emotionally resonate with careers. And I figured that out. And so I do what I do because at some point, selfishly, you want to leave a legacy, right? And you want to be that person who's making a difference in the world. And I'm not making this up. It's really why I do what I do. It's really just purely out of wanting to help give back, give a new way of thinking, and make as much of a difference in the lives of young people in a way that they're not getting.
I love it, man. That's
fantastic. It's not bullshit. I mean,
you have no other reason to do it. You're not monetizing. You're not trying to sell courses or any of that shit. Like, you're doing it for real. By the way, as we're talking, I actually think we connected a couple years back on a phone. I was trying to recruit you for a job, an analytics job. I think we did have a conversation or two.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. Right? I mean, I've had 8 different emails over the last 2 years, so I probably have no way of tracking that. But, dude, you're right, man. Like, it's all about giving, and the reason I wanted to have you on the show is specifically for that reason, because I see it clearly, and so many others see it clearly. What your intentions are, and they're good and they're pure, and you're one of the good people on this platform. So I certainly applaud
really
you.
Appreciate that.
And kudos, man. And we're all praying here for New York. We're gonna get back to it. I mean, if there's any city in the world that's resilient, it's New York. We know how to come back. This one's taking its toll, man. This is a 12-round knockout fight. It's going to take work, but this is a city that never sleeps. This is a city. We are New York City tough, and I'm a born and raised New Yorker, man. Born in Brooklyn, lived there for a long time. Where are you born? Sheepshead Bay, man. And
Park Slope, old school.
Yeah, nap between B and W.
We go to high school.
Well, I moved out to Long Island, but I would have went to Sheepshead.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I would have went to Midwood, and I went to
Midwood.
Yeah,
we could have been classmates. I almost went to Midwood too.
I passed the test to get in there, but New York is going to survive, but it's going to take so much work, and there's going to be scars and wounds and a lot of healing that's going to come from it. So I want to end this, and as I do all my live shows, all my podcasts over the last 2 months, with positivity. Right. I mean, I'm a snarky New York Jew as they come, man. I give it, I take it, like I give it, I tell you how it is. But I want to end it on a positive note here. John, if you could share with us one professional silver lining and one personal silver lining that you've experienced over the last 8 weeks.
Yeah. So professionally, the ability to finally use the really interesting, innovative methods that I've been trying to bring to the industry are finally getting attention. Things like looking at Google searches and search impressions, using social listening to understand tourism movement, understand website traffic, not as a way to just say, here's some numbers, but here's a way to understand tourism behavior. This stuff is making it to the upper echelons of New York City government now.
Good.
These people are paying attention, and it's not just me navel gazing, right? And saying, here's here's the work that I love to do, and I'm like, it's so cool, right? And it's fun and it's innovative. It's actually making a difference on a huge policy.
Like the decisions are being made off of this data.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's innovative stuff and people are really into it. I think personally, the fact that I've been able to, let's talk about what I've gotten out of LinkedIn.
Yeah, please.
Able to find those people, add those people to my tribe much more successfully than I have in the past. And I've had just incredible, deep connections with people that I've actually met on LinkedIn in ways that I haven't. And this is actually, I would say, within the last 8 weeks. And that's a huge personal thing that's been really great.
That's fantastic. And Jonathan, for folks that don't know you, where could they find you? Where could they connect with you? Where could they learn more?
Sure. So go to my page on LinkedIn. So it's, I don't know, Jonathan Tesser. It's not John. But I'm glad I called myself John because that's my name.
Right, but you're Jonathan,
And then also a couple of resources for me if you don't know who I am. I had a lovely assistant help me put together all of my content and categorize it for young professionals.
Oh, I'm looking at it now. I mean, I don't like this yellow schematic here, but aside from that, the content is very well organized. I mean, it's very Cleveland Browns looking.
I can't comment on that. So if you want to find out what I'm all about and you don't know me and you're a new listener to this podcast, go to my profile page. You'll see the featured Google Doc there. If you want to read more of my musings and more of my vulnerable content, I write more on Medium blog for that. At some point, I used to only do analytics stuff, but I moved more into this like guru psychological stuff recently. So you can find me there on Medium, and it's all on my profile page on LinkedIn.
That's fantastic. John, thank you so much for joining me today. Hang with me for one moment. A bunch of folks that were with us today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and everyone that's going to be watching this replay, which I get a ton of. I love the replay. I love the comments and the engagement that we get on it. John, I'll send you the link as well to the replay so you could post it on your page. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm doing a really cool show. Check this out. So one of the things that I have a passion about is prison reform. It's something that I never knew that I had a passion for. And I got involved with an organization through one of my mentors, Marcus Glover. It's a program called the 5 Ventures, which is basically a business incubator within the prison system. So it's a bunch of business pros that go in and we mentor and coach inmates through a program in the jails. We go to the jails and we work with them and they build a business. They have an idea, they incubate it, and we work with them in the prisons. And then it's like a Shark Tank style competition where they win real money. So when they get out, they could start their own businesses.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's awesome. I absolutely love it. And, when we talk about vulnerability, like the thing I'm scared about most in life is, a pudgy middle-aged New York Jewish guy going into a prison. So for me, I'm being dead serious, going in there and you're with these hardened inmates, man. I mean, it puts you in a different mindset and it takes you out of your comfort zone and you just lock in and you realize that we're all human and we all have so many things in common, right? And we're relatable. And this program has given so much to me. I was actually supposed to go last week up to Wallkill in Orange County, and obviously we're not doing that. But tomorrow I'm having 2 folks on my show together that are both heavily involved. They're both second chancers themselves, as we like to call them, who have turned Jason Wang and Cherry Garcia, and they both changed their lives to now they hire and employ ex-cons and put them out into the workforce. So I've had them both on my proper podcast, and I've been waiting for a long time to bring them on together. And we're gonna have a panel conversation about what they're up to, and what's happening now in their business, and what's happening in the prison systems with COVID. It's really scary, and a lot of people are not talking about it. People are just not giving a shit what's happening in there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different conversation tomorrow on the podcast. It won't be all funny and snarky like we're doing now, but my goal is to add value and have a canvas for these type of chats.
Amazing. Wow.
It should be a good one. I literally just wrote my thanks. I literally just wrote my questions out for that one, and like really just thinking about like where we're going to go with this. So that should be a good one. So I'm done rambling. John Tesser, thank you for taking the time out of your day. I appreciate you, brother. Let's stay in touch. Everyone watching, catch us tomorrow. We'll be back live. Take care.